Hello world, I'm a software engineer who's been recently laid off from big tech with over 25 years of experience in the tech industry. So I've been getting a lot of questions and comments from young guys in college who are studying computer science about how to get into the tech industry and whether they should continue pursuing computer science and tech or not. Now, this takes me back to when I was a junior engineer, fresh out of college. It was a different world back then. Back then, just showing your sheepskin diploma was enough to get your foot in the door in many tech companies. I remember I had just accepted and joined a consulting company, and the very first project that they dropped me onto was a CMS site that was about to be launched within a month for a major telecom client. Being a junior developer, I was put onto bug fixing duty almost immediately. There was just one problem though. I didn't know anything about professional software development. Yeah, I have a computer science degree, but that didn't even teach me the basics, like, for example, how unit tests work, how mocking of data works, how a runtime debugger works. I didn't even know the basics of libraries and dependency management in the Java language. As such, I soon got into the state where defects that I fixed would fail in higher environments. The squad that I was dropped into was incredibly helpful and understanding. Once I remember this unsupported major minor version bug, I was stuck with this bug for literally hours. Basically, this issue happens when a version of a library that you compiled your code with isn't matching the version of the same library in the runtime environment of that code. But I didn't know that as a junior. So I just kept debugging and debugging. I got to the point where I was trying to explode this Java library package and looking at the class files inside of that package. Now, the build master on the squad, let's call him Dima. Dima was a really friendly and helpful guy who had this curious habit of telling really pessimistic jokes. Oh, and by the way, imagine a build master as a person who did the same tasks as what a modern CI/CD pipeline would do today. So Dima came and asked me how I was doing. So I told Dima, hey man, I'm exploding this library package to figure out this bug. And Dima laughed. He explained to me what this bug was and how to fix it. And then after that, for the entire duration of this project, I became known on the squad as the guy who exploded his package. I had my first go-live launch night with that project. I remember staying up with the team until the early hours of the morning, fixing one production launch gating defect after another. I learned from my first tech lead, let's call him Naga, what it means to be a production cowboy. So after around midnight, we sort of hit a lull in this go-live where it seems like high severity defects were all squashed. At that point, Dima, the build master, decided to go home. He thought he had enough for the day. But right after he left, we found just a flurry of launch gating defects. And I keenly remember Naga furiously modifying config files on production servers directly, manually, to get this whole thing to work. Now, Naga may not have been the most disciplined software engineer, but he was a fine tech lead and just a great human being. Finally, around 5 a.m. in the morning, all the production bugs were squashed and the site was safely launched. And I remember Naga telling me that morning, hey, the most important thing isn't fixing the bugs. The most important thing is to learn from them and to have fun doing it. It was a crazy time being a junior engineer just starting out. I had this cocktail of emotions. Fear, excitement, anxiety, hope. I had massive imposter syndrome. But at the same time, I had this burning desire to improve, to master my craft, and make my way in this world. Over the years, as my career in tech progressed, I always had the support and guidance of leaders and mentors like Naga. So as I rose through the ranks, I tried to pay it forward. I did that by mentoring many junior engineers. And at my most recent employer, I had the privilege of running several summer internship programs. For junior software engineers today, the broader environment that they're launching their careers into could not be more different from the one that I experienced. First, there are just way more engineers on the job market. All of this learn to code stuff from the government, from big tech leaders, from universities, they really produce this huge saturation of engineering graduates. So these junior engineers now face a job market where their college degree is worth astronomically less than what it was a generation ago. To just get a job in tech, junior engineers now have to compete with practically everybody for the limited pool of entry-level opportunities. They're competing against experienced mid-level engineers, right? Both those that are currently employed and trying to keep on and hold on to their jobs, but also those laid off engineers who are willing to essentially demote themselves and work entry-level jobs. They're competing against offshore engineers who can work for much lower wages. They're competing against senior engineers and architects who are able to develop with much greater productivity given the set of generative AI tools available. And in big tech, they're even competing against data centers filled with GPUs for these slivers of corporate budget. And ironically, I'm noticing that these new engineering grads, their knowledge and capability is vastly superior to what I had coming out of college. In a summer internship program that I ran a couple of years ago, there was this one college intern. This guy literally architected and implemented and deployed a cloud-native web application that was useful and used by the company. And after the internship ended, he still didn't get a position. Even though I pushed for him, there just weren't enough entry-level positions. And even when a junior software engineer does get a job, it seems to me that today there's less of a support network for them, and seemingly every incentive to discard them as soon as possible. So it seems to me that the tech industry has somehow evolved into this machine that is willingly wasting the potential of an entire generation of smart and talented engineers. This feels kind of like an injustice to me. You know, my son is STEM inclined. He's a teenager and he just recently pushed his first PRs for a project that he was contributing to. So the question of what to do about this has really been on my mind these days. As such, I want to share some coping strategies to help junior engineers get into tech. With my experience in the industry, each one of these strategies should move the needle at least a little bit. So let's get started. Be true to yourself. So if you're studying computer science in college and you have a passion and a desire for it, or if you just sort of like it, then keep doing it. But say you are not really interested. Say you don't like it. Maybe you even despise it. Then why are you learning computer science? If you're doing it because of parents, family expectations, because of all the bonkers money, TikTok videos about the lifestyle, I would urge you to reconsider. If your inner self truly wants to study or pursue something else, please don't betray that inner voice. I've met a lot of people through my career that didn't like computer science at all, but still pursued a career for those external reasons, and it's a source of deep regret. Say you like computer science. Next is to build your eminence. That means while you're still in school, try to showcase your work. And by your work, I don't mean like some portfolio of websites that you just built yourself and you're hosting yourself. What I mean is work that is recognized by institutions, companies, and organizations. Imagine building software for your university or for a nonprofit organization, or contributing meaningful software to a free open source framework, joining meetup groups and giving lectures, joining hackathons and winning those hackathons. These are demonstrations of your eminence that will matter. You want to maximize the value of internships. This is because internships, while being not a guarantee of a full-time offer, is nevertheless astronomically more likely to land you a full-time job than just cold applying to jobs. You can try to get internships by applying to school boards, career fairs, through your alumni networks, and through professional networks. If you didn't land an internship, you should try your hardest to apply for jobs. And what I mean by trying is, make sure your resume is professionally reviewed and polished. Make sure to practice those leet code and hacker rank questions and get good at it. Make sure to do mock interviews so that you're used to that interview environment. To maximize your chances of getting a job, try to apply to a broad range of companies. Not just tech companies, but also non-tech companies. What you're looking for is a technical software engineering role, right? That role can exist in non-tech companies. And that technical job is what's important for building your experience. If you're not getting any hits for software engineering roles, you should consider applying to adjacent roles. When I say adjacent roles, I mean roles like QA engineer, data engineer, sales engineer, DevOps engineer, and others. And then once you get that adjacent role, you can then gradually move yourself into the software engineering field. Finally, I urge you to be flexible about the nature of the job itself. Suppose you can't get a full-time tech job with a big tech company. You should consider other forms of work, like partnerships, gigs, being a solo entrepreneur and starting your own project, being willing to, say, move to a different location or even a different country for a similar role. So if you're flexible, you get more opportunities. Be flexible. Be like water, my friends. And that's it for my coping strategies. I make no promises, but I believe for most of you, if you try these tactics, it'll move the needle for you. I hope my rant on this subject has been helpful. If you have a morbid curiosity to join me in this post-big tech layoff life journey, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And by the way, guys, I'm starting to like making these vlogs. It gives me something to do, seems quite meaningful even, and it's just nice. So I think I'll make more of these videos in the future. If you want to support my vlog making efforts, please consider joining as a member of this channel. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Take care and see you guys next time. Bye.